Welcome back to the cottage, everyone. If you're looking to simplify your home life, consider eliminating one of these 17 things. You don't need them. They're likely just clutter. These things are very common in the typical home, and yet many times they are just taking up space and we aren't actually using them or needing them. Now, I want to be clear, anytime I make a video like this, that just because an item is on this list, it doesn't mean that it's something bad and that you shouldn't have it. We all need to make those decisions for ourselves. We could say about many of the items that we keep in our homes, they aren't really needs. We don't really need to have them. Beds, couches, we don't really need them, but many of us will choose to keep them because we want them around. And we don't need to justify ourselves anything beyond that. This list is simply for the people who are looking to simplify their lives, looking to be intentional, and I'm just encouraging you to take a second glance and to see and decide for yourself, are these things that you need in your home, that you want in your home, or have they just become clutter? Number one, exercise equipment. How many of us have had aspirations of having a small home gym? We feel like if we have those items readily available for us any time of the day, that we'll be more consistent with our workout schedule and will meet our fitness goals. But come to find out as time goes on that we just aren't using it the way that we thought we would, and that treadmill is now a place that we temporarily put clothing, and the free weights have been collecting dust in the corner. That is a very common occurrence in many households. If that's happening to you, you're not alone. Trust me. Free yourself from the mental burden of seeing these things every day and being reminded of the guilt that you have for not using them by letting them go and freeing up that space in your home. You can just as easily get yourself a pair of running shoes and commit to going on walks or jogs with a friend, or maybe sign up for a gym membership and try that out for a while. Number two, a formal dining table. Many of you know that I am a residential designer, and I can't tell you the number of times that I've designed homes for clients who have requested multiple spots for dining. They will ask for 6 to 8 spots at a large kitchen island, a separate breakfast nook, possibly a casual dining space, and a formal dining room for a large dining room table. Now, 9 times out of 10, maybe even higher than that, these spaces are there, they're incorporated into the home just because of that 1 or 2 times a year that they may be hosting some large event and need all of the seating for people to dine. And that is the case in a lot of homes. You may have moved into a home that has this separate dining room space, and you feel like, well, if the space is there, I better put in a table, right? I better have a large table there. So consider to yourself, are you using your formal dining table if you have one, or are you finding yourselves eating your meals in a different spot and you could maybe eliminate that large table? Item number 3 is clocks. When is the last time that you looked at a clock on the wall or a small clock on a table or nightstand rather than your phone or your watch? It's getting more and more common that we just look at these more convenient forms of telling the time. We can set alarms quickly, we can set reminders quickly, and the need to have these actual clocks on the wall or in other rooms of our home has really declined, especially in the last 10 years or so. Really think about, are you using that clock for its actual function by looking at the time, or has it become just another thing on the wall? Number 4, specialty serving platters or dishes. This item is timely on the list because Thanksgiving's right around the corner, and that tends to be a holiday where we put a lot of focus on the displaying of food. I myself was guilty of having these specialty items. I had a turkey platter, a relish dish, a gravy boat, and I'd only bring them out for this one day. The rest of the year they were shoved in the back of my cabinets, and it was a hassle to bring them out for this special occasion. And if you're considering, after thinking about this, decluttering some of these items, a really simple solution would be to just have some very basic serving pieces, things that are neutral, maybe they're clear or white or a light gray or something like that, that you can use for any holiday of the year, any day of the year really, and that they are multifunctional. Then you could eliminate these excess platters and dishes that are only taken out of the cabinets for a day or two a year. The fifth thing that your house doesn't need is keys. Not all of them, of course, you will need some keys. I'm talking about those extra keys that you keep around because you don't remember what they go to. I'm sure I'm not the only one that was guilty of this habit. We had a whole bundle of keys that we kept around just in case the off scenario that we couldn't get into something that was locked, we would try all of these keys. Spoiler alert, they never were the right option and that item would have to be broken into anyway. So if you have a lot of keys that you don't know the use for, that should be an easy thing to declutter. Broken furniture or furniture that you plan to update. Many of us think that we have more time to do these types of quick repair projects than we actually do. And so we have these furniture pieces, which usually are not small things, taking up this space in our homes. And the problem with these items is that every time we look at them, we are reminded that we haven't yet gotten to this project, and it makes us feel kind of bad about ourselves. So I encourage you, if you have these types of things in your home, you don't need them there. You should either decide and make a plan to actually fix them and actually get them updated the way that you want, or you should make a plan to let them go. Number 7, excess linens. An extra set of towels or bed sheets is probably fine, but many of us find ourselves with stuffed linen closets and we don't have a need for all of those things if we truly think about it. And so look through your towels and decide how they're wearing, decide if you need as many as you have. Are they stained? Are they ripped? Do they smell bad? Those are the type that you could declutter pretty quickly and easily. And when it comes to bed sheets, we can sometimes fool ourselves into thinking that we need to have different sheets depending on the season. So we might need to have flannel in the winter, for example, and something lighter in the summer. But I would argue that if you can find a good set of sheets, my husband and I recently switched to Brook linen sheets that we're able to use year round, and that really has eliminated the need for us to keep all of these excess linens. Number 8, your home doesn't need decorations that are never being used. Think of all the boxes and bins that might be stored in your attic or your garage that have these decoration items that maybe at one time you did like to display, but you haven't brought them out for a long time. The best time to decide on if you're going to keep these items or not is around the time that you're decorating. So for example, if you have bins of Christmas decorations, bring them all out, bring them all into one space, and as you're decorating for the holiday, look at these items carefully and think to yourself, if you've used them in the past couple of years, if you plan to use them this year or the next. And if the answer to that is no, then it may be time to let these decor items go. Now, this doesn't have to be strictly about holiday decor either. It can be items that were used for birthdays, for example. Maybe you had a themed birthday party for one of your kids and you bought these really expensive decorations and you kept them thinking that you might want to use them again for a different child. But if you really aren't going to use them, there's no sense having them take up space in your home. Number 9, single-use kitchen items. The salad spinner, the cheese grater, fruit juicer, or as one viewer recently pointed out, even the pizza cutter. These gadgets could easily be replaced by a different kitchen tool or just good old mechanical effort. Now, if you wanted to be very thorough about thinking in this category, you could even look at something as large as your microwave. Think about what you're using your microwave for, and if it's only for heating things up, you could do that just as easily on the top of your stove or in your oven. This is something that I wanted to eliminate personally, the microwave, when we moved into our home, but my kids and my husband thought I was crazy. So for right now, we're not ready to eliminate this from our lives. We do still have a microwave, but I have questioned myself if this is truly something that we need because it is taking up a lot of space on my kitchen counter and I kind of personally see it a little bit as clutter. But again, my family doesn't agree with me on this one yet. Number 10, throw pillows. They're cute, they're fun, they dress up the beds and couches of our homes, but they're also pretty unnecessary. A great tip to help to eliminate some of this clutter is to only purchase or make your own pillowcase covers that you can swap out depending on the decor that you're going for in the space. But if you want to take it a step further, try this minimalist hack. Fold a standard pillow in half and put it in a standard pillowcase. Tuck in the excess and instantly you have a new mini pillow. And these pillows can do double duty. You can use it in standard form on your bed or in mini form on your couch. Number 11 isn't a thing, but it is something that many homes have that isn't really necessary, and that is a dedicated room for a specific purpose. You might have a room in your house that was a craft room, it was a guest room, it was a music room, and you might find, if you really think carefully about it, that this room isn't serving its purpose anymore, and you can change it to something else. Another thing that I bring up sometimes is the thought that kids need their own bedroom. So each of them has their own bedroom. If you were to combine kids in one room, that space again could be repurposed to use as something else. So just think carefully about your spaces. Again, it's not a thing, but your space as a whole, and decide if it is something that you really want to keep and something that you need to keep, or if you can change it up. The 12th item that your home doesn't need is expensive chemical cleaning products. I used to believe that I needed to have bleach products to clean my toilets or certain brand name products that would help me keep my home clean. But I was finding that every time I used these products, I would get headaches. And so I started looking into making my own natural cleaners DIY at home, and I found them to clean just as well as the ones that I can buy at the store. And so be thinking about your cleaning products, deciding if you truly like using them even, because I know I didn't really like using mine, and then deciding for yourself if it's something you want to keep in your home or if you want to look for different alternatives. Number 13, backup packaging. In the age of Amazon, many of us receive plenty of boxes, and we will feel the need to keep a few of them to use as boxes for birthday presents, Christmas presents, or to send packages of our own. And while this may be helpful, we can also find ourselves taking in and keeping way more than we actually would need to use. This can also be the case for things like bubble wrap. And I would just encourage you to really look at the stash that you've collected and think to yourself how much you actually need to keep, how much you want to keep, and make some decisions based off of logic and not the thought that we might need them in the future. Number 14, DVDs or VHS tapes. Streaming services are so convenient, and they give us a whole entire library catalog of movies and entertainment right at our fingertips. And even if we don't want to pay for streaming services, there's plenty of free content right here on YouTube. So consider if you really want to keep these physical items or if you could move to something more digital. Number 15 is coffee tables. They look good, they can fill up a space in a room, but they also create a new horizontal surface. And if you followed me for any amount of time, you know how I feel about horizontal surfaces. They're working surfaces, they should be left clear unless they're in use. And the problem is they tend to be clutter collectors as well. And so if you have a coffee table that you've found has just become a dumping grounds for things, you may find that you don't need it in your home anymore. Item number 16 is cookbooks or recipe cards. Tell the truth. When is the last time that you looked in a cookbook or at a recipe card to make a meal? I am not a pro in the kitchen by any stretch of the imagination, but even I have recipes that I use often enough that I don't need to look at any sort of directions to get the job done. And that's probably the case for you as well. Now, of course, there are probably some family heirloom favorite recipes that we'd want to keep around to pass down to generations. But if you have recipe books that you used a couple of times, didn't really care for the recipes, and you're still holding on to the book, ask yourself why that is. Why do you still have that book? Why do you still have those recipe cards? A great solution, again, thinking about digital products, is we can look online and find lots of new recipes that we've never tried before and spice things up in the kitchen without having to keep a lot of extra clutter. And finally, number 17, leftover craft supplies or building materials. When the project is completed and we find ourselves with a little bit of the product left over, we are tempted to hold on to it because A, we spent money on these things, and B, we may use them in the future. But what tends to happen more often than not is that we move on to the next project, buy all new things for that project, and then have excess from that. And so that extra ends up building up and building up. And pretty soon we have a whole stash of leftover materials that we're not likely to use. And so it's better to either sell or give away these items right away when you're done using them. And they will be used much more quickly in that way than you will use them, probably because honestly, you may never use these items and they may just take up space in your home all of that time. These are just 17 examples of common things that people keep in their homes thinking that they need them, when in reality they probably don't. And I know that there are so many more that could be on this list. I would love to hear from you. What is something that you have recently discovered is just clutter in your life, but you had thought that it was something that you needed and you're ready to now let it go? I know that we're going to get a whole variety of comments down there. I'm excited to read them all. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope that you'll stop by the cottage again really soon.